Hey there and welcome back to another Dreamworks video. And today, I want to talk a little bit about the Kung Fu Panda franchise. When it came out in 2008, Dreamworks was in a bit of a spotty place in terms of the quality and the success of their films. The Shrek franchise, their big cash cow, had just started its downwards trajectory with Shrek the Third. The Madagascar franchise was about to start going the same way. And we were still a while off getting to some of the studio's more successful post-Shrek franchises, like How to Train Your Dragon. So DreamWorks was really in need of a win, and they stumbled across this glorious franchise, Kung Fu Panda. Grossing $631 million off a budget of $130 million, and with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 87%, I think it's safe to say that this first film was an overwhelming success for the studio from both a domestic and an international standpoint, as not only did it do well in the USA and pretty much the rest of the world, but unlike many other Western films, it actually cracked the mainland Chinese market, which, well, to put that lightly, it's no small feat. And I mean, it's a really good market to get into. After all, a lot of people means a lot of tickets, which means a lot of money. And the next two films, they pretty much did the same thing. The quality didn't really dip, and neither did the money. And I won't lie, I'm definitely a latecomer to all this hype. When it came out in 2008, I was on the cusp of my teenage years, right about to enter puberty. So, the idea of watching some stupid animated film starring Angelina Jolie, I think not. My cooties cringe meter was off the charts. Yeah, I know I was a buffoon, but still. And so, when I did get around to watching it as an adult, well yeah, I felt like a bit of a dickhead, because this film's great. Hell, the franchise as a whole is pretty decent, but I feel like this first one really has a magic about it that's hard to replicate. And it bleeds through basically every aspect of the film. And I mean, I think the best part's the characters. The characters are so well written. And so first, let's take a look at the title character. Po, the Kung Fu Panda. The film revolves around him and his character arc. And man, it's a good one. He starts the film as a dreamer, wishing he could be a glorious martial artist like his heroes the Furious Five, wishing that he could have a different life to the one he has now, until he gets chosen out of nowhere to become the Dragon Warrior by Master Oogway. And obviously, it doesn't go so well at first, and he finds himself belittled, bullied, and bruised, as well as ostracized by his heroes. And after trying for a while, he realizes that he can't change who he is. He's a panda, a big fat panda, and he has to embrace it instead of trying to hide from his inner self. And through this lesson, he realizes that being the Dragon Warrior is ultimately simply about accepting who you are and what you're able to do, and then honing these capabilities to perfection, becoming the best version of yourself that you can be. And I think this, along with the beautiful and vibrant world they develop throughout the film, which pays particular care to be respectful and faithful to Chinese culture, is one of the big reasons why this film does so well. I mean, he has the classic hero's journey. The story has a great moral. It has a villain who actually has depth, and a backstory, and a motive you can empathize with and understand. I mean, who can't relate to being given heaps of expectations and promises by their parents, only to find themselves struggling to live up to them? And all the other heroes, Master Shifu, Tigress, the rest, all of them have deep and rich backstories as well that flesh out the world and make the story feel more well-rounded as we learn more about them in the sequels and the spin-off shows. And really, this sort of feel doesn't let up throughout the first three films. It endures throughout both the second and the third as we learn even more about the core cast, whilst taking the time to flesh out different tertiary characters like Li, Poe's biological father, and Lord Shen, the villain of the second film, a really good villain at that. And honestly, this is perhaps the biggest reason that Kung Fu Panda has retained such popularity, prestige, and acclaim. Because whilst it's not perfect, I mean, the actual storylines themselves can be a little bit cliche and contrived, but it's the actual characters themselves that shine. They're so uniquely fun and vibrant, with their own lives, story progression, arcs, and backstory, all of which combine to shape the choices they make within the narrative and how they grow as characters. And then all of this combines with a well-designed world that pays homage to Chinese culture and does not feel overtly exploitative. Hell, I'm fairly confident that this franchise did well both commercially and critically in China. Like famous directors coming out and saying they get it. And I think part of that is that it doesn't feel like you're trying to be patronizing and trying to make a story that revolves around the culture itself. Because that is frustrating. Having Americans create a story that directly uses your culture as its narrative and then trying to sell it to you? Oof. But having the cultural heritage merely be a backdrop for a classic Kung Fu showdown? Hell yeah! That's the type of thing that people are far more willing to get behind. And it draws in so many different demographics. And really, this does continue throughout the films and through the various different shows, having great character development overlaid on this fun, vibrant, fictional version of China. And so, when they announced that there's going to be a new Netflix show, Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight, I became a little bit apprehensive. Because the premise is that Po has to leave his life behind to go on a globe-trotting adventure with a random knight character. And really, this feels like it strips away almost everything that's good about the franchise. The cultural backdrop, gone. The majority of the characters, gone. Yes, Po's all well and good, but ultimately, he's just one character. The main character, yes, but a main character doesn't make a show or a movie. They just need to be the strong focal point, the anchor. And so, I'm kind of worried that they're losing sight of what makes this franchise so special. But then on the other hand, Kung Fu Panda. They haven't gone wrong with Kung Fu Panda before. And it might be interesting for the show to broaden its horizons, as long as it doesn't stray too far from what it was in the first place. So that's really where I'm at. I'm a mixed bag, and I don't know what to think. Help me. So now perhaps I'll throw it to you. What do you think of Kung Fu Panda? Excited? Maybe not so much? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.